there was a major bomb at movie theaters over the weekend. This would be a movie called To the End. It is a documentary about climate change featuring Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This movie opened in 120 theaters. Do you know how much money the movie brought in? The movie, I've never seen numbers like this before. I've been in Hollywood. I've worked in the media for a long time. 120 theaters had the movie. The movie brought in $9,667. That is no money. It brought in statistically zero money. This was directed by a woman named Rachel Lears. Rachel Lears' previous movie was on Netflix. It's called Knock Down the House. It also featured AOC. And the way you knew this movie was a real doozy is if you go to Rotten Tomatoes to look at that movie, her previous movie had a critic score of 99% on Rotten Tomatoes and an audience score of 11%. So if you're, especially if you're talking about political content, when a movie has a high critic score, that's usually a bad sign. When a movie has a low audience score, that's usually a bad sign. And when the delta between the critics and the audience score is very, very great, you know that you have got just a primo piece of Democrat propaganda. So for this movie, the climate change movie, To the End, the critic score is 83%. So it's much lower than her previous AOC movie. And so it shows you, man, even the critics couldn't totally get behind this one. And there is no audience score because no one saw it. So there aren't enough people reviews, audience reviews, to figure that out. There's no appetite for this stuff, which is very encouraging. Because if you just read the New York Times and watched CNN and listened to your teachers in your liberal schools and listened to the government, you would believe that people were truly on the edge of their seats, waiting for the nuclear, well, not nuclear, I guess, solar apocalypse, waiting for the environmental disaster. The world's going to end in 5 years. We're all certain, but no one cares. No one believes it. Nobody cares. It is contrived. It is a lie that we are being told. It's a bill of goods that we are being told. I'm not even saying it's a bill of goods about the environment stuff. I mean, I don't even know what the story is about the environment. They said the world was cooling and we were headed for an ice age, and all the top scientists said it, and all the media said it. And they said it was warming, and we were going to all go extinct really soon. And then they said it's just kind of doing stuff. It's changing. That's going to kill us. And they keep pushing forward the date of when the world is going to end. And so I don't even know what the thesis is. But the bill of goods that they are selling us is that this is a top issue. This is not a top issue for anybody. Nobody actually cares. Don't be put in that trance, okay? They can convince you. You, who watched the clip of Donald Trump, you watched him not tell people to inject themselves with bleach, and they convinced you that he told you to inject yourself with bleach. They put you in a trance. It's a form of hypnosis. Do not let them do that on these other issues. Do not let them do that on climate change or anything else. I know what you're thinking. Michael, you Adonis, you just hunk of beautiful manhood. How do you stay looking so fresh and young and sexy? Let's just call it like it is. Well, my friends, I'm here to tell you about Genucel skincare. I love these guys. I totally trust these guys. I'm very skeptical of a lot of products designed to keep you looking good and looking healthy and vibrant. I am not skeptical of Genucel skincare. I absolutely adore this product. Now through Christmas, Genucel's most popular package is 70% off. This includes 2 months worth of Genucel's bestsellers, plus their hyaluronic acid serum for free with your purchase. I, in particular, listen, I don't sleep. The only things I ever drink are black coffee and tea and occasionally some adult beverages. I smoke cigars. I stay up late. My under-eye bags need all the help that they can get. Genucel has a marvelous product for that and so much else. Genucel uses a proprietary base with clinical levels of botanical extracts, which come together to yield amazing results. Right now, go to genucel.com/Knowles. Use code Knowles for an additional 10% off your order. Plus, every order is instantly upgraded to free express shipping. That is genucel.com/Knowles, K-N-O-W-L-E-S, genucel.com/Knowles. It's a real art, this art of deception. Speaking of the art of deception, it's going to be one of my best transitions ever. Daily Wire is just breaking some news now. We've had an investigative reporter, Bree Dale, on this story for a while now. And it's a really quirky, strange story. One attorney is describing the story as a high-tech heist. And the broad strokes, I encourage you to go to dailywire.com and read the story. The broad strokes of it are that people are stealing, they seem to be stealing the priceless art from the Vatican without taking the physical art. They're doing it, it would seem, through these corrupt kind of licensing deals such that, here's how I'll explain it. If I were to put a book together of all that beautiful art that's owned by the Vatican right now, I would have to license the art from the Vatican or from some intermediary company between me and the Vatican. So there was a company that wanted to print some photos of the Vatican art. They go and they see that the Vatican art was listed in this book. And so they contacted this company that put out the book. It was called Scripta Maneant, and said, oh, okay, how do we get the rights to these pictures? And they said, okay, well, you've got to do it with this collaboration that we've got with the Vatican Museum's director, Monsignor Paolo Nicolini. And so Scripta said, here, don't worry, here's how we'll take care of it. Just send us $550,000 and then send a cash wire in the amount of $82,500, cash wire, and then we'll be able to get you this art. Now, what our reporters seem to uncover is that some of this money looked like it was going directly to the Monsignor. Well, that's kind of weird. And the Vatican didn't seem to know that this was being licensed out. And so, anyway, it's a whole convoluted story. Give it a read. I find this sort of thing very, very fascinating because something somewhere here doesn't make a lot of sense. It would seem to be some kind of financial corruption somewhere or gross incompetence. But people are making hundreds and thousands of dollars, probably millions of dollars, off of art that is owned by the Vatican. And the Vatican doesn't really seem to be getting that money. It doesn't really seem to care that it's not. And it just, the reason I bring up that story, other than it's kind of an interesting investigative piece that Daily Wire uncovered, is to show you how the corruption works. Corruption, use the Catholic Church as an example. The Catholic Church scandals in recent years. What are the scandals? It's the sex scandals, of course, and they're very scandalous. There's no doubt about that. But when you look into the actual abuse that the Catholic Church and members of the clergy engaged in, you will notice that the Catholic sex abuse scandal is no worse, no more widespread in terms of its numbers than sex abuse among any other religious group. And so you remember the Southern Baptist Convention had a big one just a few years ago, a big sex abuse scandal. There have been sex abuse scandals in the Hasidic community. There have been just in every religious group, there are these scandals. Furthermore, sex abuse in the Catholic Church is much less prevalent than sex abuse in public schools. So these edgy atheists and leftists and secularists, they always want to make snickering jokes about those pedo priests, those little child diddling priests. And well, okay, if you're going to make those jokes, you should make those jokes much more frequently about public school teachers. People will be very offended. They'll say that's a horrible thing to say. No, there are plenty of great public school teachers, plenty of great priests, the vast majority of them. It doesn't downplay the abuse. People really have been abused by priests and teachers and everything. But it's just that's what people focus on, right? The much more widespread sorts of corruption are these subtle little things. A guy maybe paid off this guy and it was some cash under the table and there was a trend I noticed in recent years of whenever anyone started to look into the Vatican Bank and some of the corruption that was going on at the Vatican Bank, those people would always find themselves on the outs. Maybe they'd get accused of sex abuse, maybe they'd be accused of something else, but it was very hard to look into the corruption at the Vatican Bank. The rest of the show continues now. Mr. Davies tells me we have a magnificent movie trailer that I have to see. I have to focus all my powers of cultural perception on this to tell you what this is about. You don't want to miss it. If you're not a member, click the link in the description and join us.